northbound just inside of 610, the South Loop, headed toward the medical center.
Yeah, it's hard to say how fast this truck is traveling, but he's going at a pretty good clip there, a pretty good rate of speed. Now he's pulled over to the shoulder of the road there, as you can see, slowing down just a little bit. And again, that officer keeping a safe distance from that red truck, it appears.
That is the exit to Yellowstone. You just saw that sign there at the bottom part of your screen, which is just the north part of the medical center. He's going to get into some side street congestion here, running what seems to be a red light. Other vehicles stopped at that red light. He actually just flew right through it.
And right now we just have one officer pursuing this driver. He is still going at a fairly high rate of speed, now slowing down just a bit and staying on the feeder road there, not getting back on the freeway. Again, this all started probably about 20 minutes ago, so this has been going on for quite a while. Again, you just see one Houston police officer in pursuit of that red truck. You do not see any other officers involved in this scene.
But it is our understanding that there are more officers, Andy, following at a longer distance, and they are not as close as this one officer is. But it seems like he did get back on the freeway, 288 northbound, and that is coming up to Holcomb as he travels into town, taking far right shoulders and right lanes, obviously weaving in and out of traffic, trying to run from police.
Yeah, and a lot of times what you see in these situations is other units get involved, other members of law enforcement get involved in an effort to anticipate where this driver will be headed so that they could perhaps lay down some spike strips which would stop that vehicle in its tracks.
And now you can count at least 3 to 4 officers pursuing him. He just exited Southmore. That's a right on Southmore, which would be eastbound on Southmore, now traveling through residential streets.
Yeah, this is all taking place in Southeast Houston for those of you who are just joining us. Driver fleeing from police, leading them on a high-speed chase at times across several busy Houston freeways this morning. This chase has gone through the South Loop. It's gone through 288. Now the driver is in a Southeast Houston neighborhood, slowing down, making a left turn there through a residential area.
So he passed Dowling. This is right in Riverside Park. If you know someone on the east side of 288 who lives in the downtown 288 south side of town, flying through stop signs and red lights, just having no regard for anyone as he travels at high speeds.
A driver heading northbound on Ennis right now. We're not even sure if it's a man or a woman behind the wheel of that red pickup truck, but certainly that driver traveling at a good clip right now, trying to get away from the pursuing police officer, just flew past a Metro bus there.
And this is headed through 3rd Ward, coming up to Alabama, Elgin. This is going to be on the backside of the University of Houston eventually if he continues northbound on Ennis.
For those of you who are just joining us, Sky 2 live over a police chase that's taking place in Southeast Houston. You can see the red pickup there on your screen. The driver has been on the run from police for the better part of 20 minutes now, racing through a residential neighborhood on the southeast side.
He just passed Alabama, which we knew, and actually coming up toward Elgin, just driving at ridiculously high speeds. You could have children playing in these neighborhoods, folks trying to cross red lights when they have or green light rather, when they have the green and he's got the red. Such a dangerous situation. He really is flying through that residential neighborhood. You can tell Sky 2 trying to keep up with him, doing a great job, but this is ridiculously high speeds.
And other officers are now joining in on this as well. They will perhaps try and lay down some spike strips at some point if they can get ahead of this driver who's been fleeing from police for the better part of 20 minutes. It's hard to anticipate how fast he's going, but he's been traveling at a pretty good clip.
It looks like
the driver's now pulling over into a grassy patch, doing a U-turn. Okay, just went right past that police car. There looks like somebody was trying to box him in there. All right, he is boxed in by 288.
This is where it's going to end.
So this is a tense situation. He's getting out of the car now, surrounded by 2 Houston police officers, and he's now on foot.
And running.
We do not know if this man has a weapon. We were told that he may possibly have a weapon. There he is in the backyard of someone's home. You can see a trampoline there. presumably young children residing there, an extremely dangerous situation for people in this area. Obviously a desperate person running from police, willing to do just about anything to get away from them. He just hopped a fence and he is in 3rd Ward, running down. There's a police officer just confronted him, taking him down physically. You can see the confrontation going on right now, an altercation between this man who just led police on a chase for about 20 minutes through all sorts of streets. You have a second officer, it looks like, who's just approached and trying to intervene.
And a police dog as well.
And a dog.
Canine unit.
Trying to get this person down and handcuffed as quickly as possible. This is a suspect who fought and ran until the very end. We don't believe that any shots were fired. Of course, we're going to get a lot more details on this later in the day as we try to figure out why this suspect was running.
You can see that one officer backed off. We don't know exactly why. That canine seems to still be there, and we can't see the second officer. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, there were 2 officers trying to get this man under control and get him into handcuffs. It does not appear, though, that they have him totally on the ground. You can see the police dog pulling at the man's clothing, it looks like,
there
trying to get him
both
stopped.
Officers.
There we go. And it seems like they have him.
Pulling the shirt off and no doubt going to check this this suspect very closely for weapons.
Just an unbelievable ending to that chase. It could have been so much worse for so many people who could have been hit by this person.
Still difficult to tell. He must be handcuffed there on the ground. I did think that I saw the suspect's arms, however, and this person is still there fighting. We've got the police dogs. As soon as any shooting starts, as far as we can tell, we'll be cutting away from them.
On Ennis and ended up passing Alabama before being struck. But you can see there's a dog and several police who have him pinned on the ground, trying to gain control of what seems to be someone who is just not abiding by police's instructions to take ground. And
it looks like a dog got him there. You can see 2 officers struggling with the suspect to keep him on the ground. You can see the canine there as well. Other officers now arriving over to what appears to be the side of somebody's house in a residential neighborhood in southeast Houston. And it appears they have that suspect in custody on the ground. Again, we're going to continue to stay on this and gather more information for you. We're not sure why the suspect was running from police in the first place, but he led officers on quite a pursuit at high rates of speed, zigzagging in and out of traffic along 288 South, along the South Loop, and then exiting into the 3rd Ward area and flying, zipping through residential streets.
And luckily, there have been no other injuries as far as when we were seeing him run through the residential streets. I mean, he did clip that HPD car, so we'll have to see what the status is of that police officer. Joel Eisenbaum is headed to the scene so we can get more details on finding out why he was running and what the injuries were, if any, that were sustained by those cars that he clipped and the people that were in those vehicles. But you can see it's still a struggle as
yeah, that driver, that suspect is no longer on the ground. He's up off the ground. You've got at least 4 or 5 police officers there trying to gain control of the situation. A dog there as well. It looked like a couple of minutes ago that dog was going at that suspect who was on the ground, still struggling to get away from police. And this is all taking place, again, in a southeast Houston neighborhood. Appears to be on the side of somebody's house where they were finally able to nab that suspect after he ditched his red pickup truck, took off into a patch of woods, went into somebody's front yard, hopped over a trampoline and a fence in an effort to avoid being captured.
Right, 3rd Ward. This was northbound on Ennis, just as soon as he got inside of Alabama, approaching Elgin. Obviously, he's ended up in a residential section there, right on the side of someone's home, still fighting police.
Yeah, we've got several officers now there on the scene trying to get this driver under control. Again, still not clear why he was running from police in the first place, but he led them on quite a chase, again, for about 30 30 minutes before it all came to an end here in a residential neighborhood on the southeast side. Local 2's Joel Eisenbaum headed to the scene to gather more details.
And it appears that it was just that driver, but we have not confirmed if there were any other passengers in his vehicle, anyone else in that red truck.
And certainly always a very dangerous situation when these police chases take place through the streets of Houston. You can never anticipate what a driver is going to do, how fast they will go, especially when they're zigzagging in and out of traffic. The bright spot really in all of this is that a lot of people are off the roads today. A lot of people are at home. They're not working, so there wasn't a whole lot of traffic there on 288.
Well, Local 2's Joel Eisenbaum is en route to the end of the chase, and we'll bring you a live report as soon as our crew arrives on the scene.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Breaking news, a police chase in southeast Houston. Here's how it ended with the red pickup on the run, hitting police cars. There was a man and a woman inside those police cars coming up right there. At least one of those people, as you will soon see, ran from the vehicle, but both are now in custody. That chase started just before 11 this morning and ended just about a half hour ago. Jeff McShann is live on the scene. Jeff, what else can you tell us?
Well, just another crazy day in Houston, another police chase. You see the end behind me, and I can tell you, thankfully no one was seriously hurt, although a police officer is being treated right now for a possible broken hand. All this started, as you mentioned earlier today, and what we know right now is the Gulf Coast Violent Offenders Task Force was actually sitting up on a woman trying to arrest her because she's wanted for 2 counts of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. She was inside the red truck, which is a stolen pickup truck, and they were chasing her all over the southeast side, but they realized that there was actually a male driving this truck. Then it ended up over here around the Sawyer gray area after exiting off of 288 and Blodgett. And that's when they were kind of going down some of these small streets, and police officers were starting to make their way closer to the red truck. Then we had some accidents happen because they believe that this particular truck, the driver might have been on some drugs. He wrecked the car. He gets out. The dogs, the canine dog attacks him. They also shot him with several tasers. It did not seem to affect him. That's when the officer cried out on the radio that he needed assistance, and that's possibly when he broke his hand. Again, he's being looked at right now by paramedics. Now, here is the woman we were talking about. This is the woman that was wanted by the Gulf Coast Violent Offenders Task Force. They are out here right now, and they have arrested her too. Apparently, she did not run away. But that is the situation right now. Basically, you've got the Gulf Coast Violent Offenders Task Force. Those are the folks that go after the fugitives that are out there on our streets. Here's one of the taillights from the police car we just picked up sitting here. But he rammed a car, crashed another one, tried to get in between the telephone pole here and the fence. You saw it all on Air 11. But luckily, no one was seriously hurt in this. The officer being treated right now by paramedics. Just another wild day here, the day after Christmas. Back to you.
Jeff
More about
McShann.
what prompted the high-speed chase that stretched across much of Houston's south side this morning.
Yeah, we brought you the chase live on Eyewitness News at 11 a.m. Just when it looked like it was over, the driver got out and ran, and that's when a new chase started. Eyewitness News reporter Deborah Wrigley spoke with investigators. She joins us now live with more. Deborah?
Alona, a pair of 35-year-olds identified as Oscar Melvin Brown and Kimberly King are now both in jail. Houston police say their first mistake was driving in a stolen truck, but that was just the beginning.
Doing about 90 miles an hour right now as he heads towards 288.
It was the day after Christmas police chase that traveled down Highway 288 and ended with a head-on collision at Houston's 3rd Ward. The fleeing truck hit an HPD patrol car. The reason the truck was being chased was a pair of felony warrants against one of the occupants, who had been under surveillance by the Gulf Coast Violent Offenders Task Force.
As they're conducting surveillance, she gets into a vehicle which is stolen. The undercover units ask for patrol backup. They go to initiate a traffic stop. The vehicle takes off.
After the truck stop, the driver took off, police in pursuit, plus an HPD canine, who pulled the male suspect off a fence, also pulling off some of his clothes. Neighbors saw it all from the street.
Yeah, I saw him when he took his shirt off. They had him on the ground. I thought they had him handcuffed. And then I saw his arm waving, and when he did that, he got up
Police used a taser, but still the suspect ran. The K-9 attacked once more, choked in the process, but he brought the foot chase to a halt. An officer involved in the pursuit had a makeshift splint on his wrist as well.
The officer is at the hospital getting his hand looked at. The suspect was looked at by HFD personnel and determined to be okay.
Okay enough to be loaded into a police car. The woman with the 2 robbery warrants in custody too, and 1 police dog earned a treat. So he's not. And if you don't speak Dutch, that means lay down. Kimberly King will be sent over to the Harris County Jail on those 2 outstanding felony warrants. As for Oscar Melvin Brown, he has not been charged yet, but those charges are being prepared, including car theft, 2 counts as well as assault against a police officer, one of which is Jake the police dog. More on Jake on Eyewitness News at 6. Outside HPD, Deborah Wrigley, 13 Eyewitness News.
All right, as you said, you'll have more on Jake, but Deborah, watching this chase unfold, especially when it became a foot chase, it was so nerve-wracking just for us to even be observing this happening. That dog went into that situation and really took control of it. These animals are so key in a situation like this.
And Alona, he went after him twice, and the second time is when we're told by police that the suspect started choking him, and still the dog got up after that, went right back to work. He does have 1 injury. You'll hear more on that at 6 o'clock.
Okay, the day saved by Jake. Deborah, thanks a lot.